You're watching Voiceover, How Did You Do It? At voiceoverpodcast.com, where we talk to seasoned, successful voice actors to find out how they did it. I'm your host, Ian Kleinfeld, and you can find me at voicebyian.com. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at voicebyian. Hi, Anna.
Hi, Ian. Good to see you today.
You too. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
My pleasure. I've been looking forward to it. I'm excited.
I know we've been trying to do this for a couple months now.
Yeah, I know. That's totally on me. And again, thank you for being so flexible. I really
no, not at
appreciate
all. People are busy. So, it's how it is.
Well,
So let's get started. Your website is voiceforward.com.
correct. Thank you for mentioning that.
And business name is Voice Forward. And
Correct.
Why don't you tell people, what is it that you do?
Oh, well, primarily I'm an actor, like all of us. But in terms of the voiceover world, I'm a coach and also a demo producer. So I teach privately, I teach ongoing classes, and I also help people put together their demos. And it's really, really fun. I really enjoy it. And it's such a cliche, but I learn as much from you guys as hopefully you learn from me. And I'm very, very proud of, how successful people have been, working on their own and working with me. And I really am very proud of helping people really realize that you're never just a voice. I know it's such a cliche, but you're always playing a character, always playing a person. You're not just like a bouncy girl at the, makeup counter. You're, a big sister talking to a little sister about the first time she's getting lipstick, So I really love creating the world that you're in. And that's what makes it really fun because it's all regular acting to me. And I think it informs all your other acting as well, really being this specific with words on the page, thinking of them like notes in a song or words in a script, not passing over anything, giving everything its weight. So I just love it. So anyway, I'm a teacher and a coach and a demo producer, I guess.
Are you still doing voiceover itself?
Yes, I do. I had to get my home studio together, which was not easy.
Yeah.
Well, it was, I mean, listen, I don't want to say it like it was hard, but I'm very blessed. I've been doing this. I know that's one of your questions, but I did my first radio job when I was 15. So I've always been a union actor. And so I was used to auditioning from home, certainly. But once COVID hit and you had to be able to record from home as well, the actual job, I had to upgrade. So like a lot of people, I turned my closet into my little studio. I wish it looked as fine as yours. I mean, yours looks very professional and lovely and nice. And mine is just, a lot of coats and things.
Well, I don't live in New York City, so I have a little more space.
Yes, that's true. That's true. But it works, know.
So what are you working on now as far as voiceover?
Well, I've got a couple of things. I'm very proud to have been part of this Digimon franchise for, my God, literally like 20 years now. I mean, it's a little embarrassing. Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, there's Pokemon and Digimon. I think of it like Coke and Diet Pepsi. We're sort of the Diet Pepsi. We're the Pepsi of that. And what's really fun about doing is I initially started working on the series really about 20 years ago. And I play a character named PALMON, who's very adorable and very sweet and has a very high, squeaky voice. And we did, we did a couple movies and probably, I don't know, maybe about 50, 60 episodes, of the show. And, it ran a few years and the movies came out for a few years. And then, it kind of moved on to other things. And then a couple of years ago, they brought back the franchise. And what's so great about being a voiceover artist is it would be very hard for me to go back and play someone who was 16 because, hello, I'm not 16. But vocally, you really don't age. So they got all the original cast. And the one thing that was funny was when we first was in the studio, they played, it's so fun. And they played a sound, bite because they have, obviously everything. They want you to match what you did before. So I hadn't really heard it in years. And so they played it and it was just myself, the director and the producer there. And they went ahead and they played this thing. And all of us were like, oh my, it was so high and so squeaky. And I've worked for years to try to bring my voice down, for other things. And it was a bit of a shock. And the main direction that I get with that character is, can you make it more squeaky? Can you make it less squeaky? Can you make it a little raspier? Can you make it less raspy? That's basically what they say. But it's a great joy to be able to do it. And, just the other day I was at the pharmacy getting, eye drops or something. And the kid behind the counter was wearing a Pokemon shirt. And
Uh-huh.
I said, oh, are you familiar with Digimon? And he said, oh, yeah. I said, well, I play PALMON, little green thing on the. He goes, oh, my God, that's my childhood.
Oh
So I
my
felt
God.
very old and also very blessed at the same time because he was all excited. He's like, oh, that's my childhood. I grew up with that. And,
Oh, that's fun.
yeah, so it's really great. And then I play right now, I'm currently playing a polar bear on a Korean series. And this really speaks to like the global nature of voiceover right now. The producers are in Korea often. The director's been in Australia. I've been in LA. I've been in New York with the director in Canada, with the people in Korea. And we managed to be able to do this show. And it's unfortunately, it doesn't play in America, but it's the #1 show for children under 6 years old in Australia. Plays in Germany, plays in England, it's in France, it's all over the world. And you can get it on DVDs here. So I got it for my little nieces to look at. But that's great, great fun. And then, I audition like everybody else. I get my auditions and I send them in there. And, like everybody else, I'm in that little scramble, trying to get more stuff going. So it's fun. It's always entertaining and it's different every day, which is fantastic.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Nice. Can you give us a sample of your Digimon voice?
Okay. Sadly or not, it's literally this voice. It's his voice. It's his voice, but it's higher. Like I say all the time, I say, like my character's always eating, just loves to eat. So it's a lot of that big, loud, messy eating with such joy, And so I'll say things like they'll try to get me to take a nap because I'm very energetic, And I'll say, oh, if I'm napping, I'm not eating. That's not good. If I'm napping, I'm not going to eat. I have to finish that pie. And my character that I'm in love with in that show, these little creatures are attached to humans. And my human's name is Mimi. And this last season was very sad because we had to go through, there was a virus, how ironic, a virus going around and all the digi creatures had to kind of go back to zero. They almost had to reboot themselves so their humans wouldn't remember them. So it was very upsetting.
Yeah.
Bye-bye, Mimi, But then, of course, they found each other in the new iteration because they're meant to be together. They're little soulmates. But it was actually, it was quite upsetting and kind of a great lesson about, you never really lose anyone you love. You never really disconnect from them. That's a bond that goes beyond time and space. It really is. So it's great fun to be a part of that again. And they've done a lot of them, and now they're starting to be, like conventions and things like that I could go to, I guess. So it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm gonna have to watch it now.
Oh my God. All right. Well, you'll know me, the Squeaky, the little green tomato. And it's originally a Japanese show, and those shows are so strange because all the digi creatures have superpowers. And my superpower is that when I get upset, I look like a tomato with like long leaves. To protect things, I'll throw out my leaves really long and far, and I cover people in poison ivy. So I yell, poison ivy, and I guess make them itch till they go away. And then if I'm really mad, I evolve into this thing where you get to say digivolve too, and you're like big whirl, and I become a cactus with like boxing gloves, like a boxing cactus. I don't understand. I don't know the connection, and yet it seems to make sense. So,
and what's her name again?
Her name is PALMON.
PALMON. Okay, yeah. I'm totally going to start watching Digimon.
Very cute. She's very cute. Yes, she's very beloved.
Nice. So, what were you doing before you got into voiceover?
Well, this is a good question. I started, as I said, I did my first radio job when I was 15. I'm very lucky. I grew up in LA, and my mom was a dancer, and so I really grew up thinking that, being an actor was a totally normal thing to do. Like I always joke that if I grew up in Ohio, I'd, have a potato farm or something. I'd be like, well, that's what you do. So I was just in school, and I started taking acting classes outside of school to, learn to be an actor. And I needed extra money to pay for my acting classes. So I'm always saying to people that the voiceover world is just the best day job in the world. So at 15, it became my day job. And I called up, I knew a guy who, or my mother knew of a guy who had a little production company in LA. And she said, why don't you call this company? They do a lot of things. And in a very fearless way, I just started calling this place every Friday. And I would say, hi, my name is Anna, and I'm 15, and I'm trying to pay for my acting classes. And I think I could do voiceovers and things. So if you ever need a kid, here's my number. And they'd go, okay, thank you. And I just called once a week for maybe 6 weeks. I didn't even think about it. It was just like a fun thing I would do on Friday. Like, oh, I'm going to call that place. And eventually they put me on the phone with the head of the company. And he said, oh, you sound really adorable. Yeah, come on in. So I went in the next day and I did my first job. And it was with a wonderful character actor named Jak Riley, who, if you guys look him up, you would know who he is. He worked for years and years, but he was, I think, most famous for playing a very depressed therapy patient in the original Bob Newhart show, like, long before I started working with him.
Right.
But he was so kind. And my first thing, I did a series of Polaroid commercials where he was my dad and I was his daughter, and I just couldn't stop taking pictures. I just could not stop. And I was just catching him at all sorts of times. So I've always done this. And as I think I mentioned to you before, no matter where my acting world has taken me, like, over the years, I've been very blessed to be able to do a lot of television and some independent movies. And then I worked for a long time. I ran a big production company and I've produced some big films. And the one thing that has always been a real constant for me through all of it is the voiceover world. Like when I started running this production company, I very happily stopped doing on-camera commercials because I said, oh my God, 20 years of that is enough. But I never stopped doing the voiceover thing. And what's so great is over the years, I've been able to expand and expand and expand. And like I never used to be able to do sexy spots at all. Like I just had no idea because my voice was so high and squeaky and I was just so embarrassed. But I was able to kind of teach myself how to do it, by listening to other people. And this is what I love about the industry. You really can be very proactive. You can teach yourself a lot of it at home. And it's not that hard to teach yourself. You just have to be consistent, and focused on what you want to do. So I've kind of always done voiceovers between New York and LA. I've always, since I was 20, I came to New York when I was 20 for 3 months. And since then I've split my year pretty evenly, like forever. And it's easier now because it used to be that when I was in LA, I'd miss out on all the New York work. When I was in New York, I'd miss out on all the LA work. And now that doesn't matter, of course. You can be anywhere, do everything. So the business has just gotten bigger and gotten better over the years. So I'm very blessed. I've always done it. So
let's talk a little more about Anna Garduño, the early years.
Okay.
So you started 15. So
yes.
You're doing both commercials and voiceovers.
Yes. And then I got my first television job when I was 17, which I was very lucky. And it was, I'm really dating myself now, but it was a very big show at the time. It was a show called James at 15. And I did 2 of those. It was a very big show at the time. And then I did, my first big job was the last year of Happy Days. I did an episode of Happy Days.
Oh, how fun.
Where I got Joni to start smoking cigarettes, to be cool, to be in my cool gang. And it was very exciting. It was the first time I got a trailer and I got a guest star billing at the top of the show. And I remember I got $650, which seemed like amazing at the time, and it was really, really exciting. And at the time I was dating a guy who was quite a bit older than me, not crazy, but enough. And his mom, he was an actor, and his mom is a woman named Betty Garrett, who, for those of you who may remember, played the landlady on Laverne and Shirley. And so that show was on the set right next to the Happy Days set. So it was so great that she came over to visit. And I mean, it was just a dream scenario. It was just absolutely great. So I did a lot of that, and I've always loved theater primarily. And one thing I really do find, and I talk to my voiceover students a lot, is when you find certain characters or certain tones of voice or certain attitudes, they really do translate into film parts, into TV parts, into theater parts, because so much of your character is revealed by the cadence of your speech, by the tone of your speech, whether you stop or start, whether you stutter, whether you're way up here or like way down here and very quiet. Your voice reveals character in such a huge way. And so again, there's a reason that the voiceover stuff has always really supported all my regular acting, endeavors. So
cool. So that's your straight job, your day job.
My day job is voiceovers, correct.
What do you feel like has been kind of the key for your success in voiceover, other than just having the chutzpah to call up every Friday as a 15-year-old?
I think, I'm very blessed with a natural kind of enthusiasm. So people respond to that. People respond to someone who's happy to be there, who's curious about learning things, You know, my mom taught me when I was very young, a great piece of advice, because I was going to a dinner with a bunch of very like high-end, super fancy, important people. And I was really nervous. And she said, well, if they ask you something you don't know about, just say, well, I'm not familiar with that. So like even now with trying to get this home studio situation together, somebody will say, well, what kind of a blah, 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 blah do you have? And I'll just say, you know what? I'm not familiar with that, but tell me what it is and then I'll know what it is. So there's, I don't want to say it's humble, but I've always been very open and honest about what I know and what I don't know. And I've always been very aware that you can learn almost anything, you know, you can just figure it out. So I think that that's a big thing. I think I'm enthusiastic and I'm very collaborative. And I'm very open to suggestions from people. You know, I never really feel like, especially if someone's hired me, that like my way is the right way. You know, I feel like, okay, my job is to do what they would like. So let me try to interpret what that is and try to do that. So I think that's a big part of it. And being, you know, consistent is very important. So I always tell people when I teach, you know, the first thing for people, maybe I work with, who've never done this before. I say the first thing is to find out if you like it. Like, do you even have fun? Do you even like it? Because if you don't like it, don't do it. There's a million other things to do. But if you like it, oh my God, how fantastic. And also knowing that you don't have to be good at everything. You know, I started out just doing radio spots and television on camera and TV voiceovers. And then I was working a good, I'm trying to think, like a good 5-6 years, maybe a little bit longer, before I ever even considered or thought I could do animation. Like it just didn't occur to me at the time. And then I started, I think it was actually my legit agent sent me on an animation audition. I was like, oh, well, this is funny. Okay. And I had no idea what I was doing. I'm like, oh, and I didn't get that job, which is understandable in hindsight. And when I watched the actual show to see, you know, what they cast, the minute one of the characters came across the screen, I said, oh, wait a minute. Oh, I can sound like that. Like I'd never tried it. Was a boy character. And I was like, oh, wow, I can do that. So I started studying's maybe almost too strong a term for it. I started really paying attention to what was on the air, to what people sounded like, and paying attention to what I could do or what I needed to learn how to do. So I love the self-taught nature of the business. And then I just slowly started being able to expand out my range. You know, I started out with just being able to do one thing, and then I realized, oh, I can do this too, and I can do this too, and I can do this too. So, you know, being curious is a big part of it, you know, and seeing where you fit in. And if you're not curious and you don't want to find out where you fit in, don't do it. Just do something else.
Well, if you're not curious and you don't want to find out where you want to fit in, you got bigger problems than not wanting to do voiceover.
Correct. Well, you'd be surprised. I mean, this rarely happens to me by the time, because I don't do any like actual advertising, you know, for my classes or my coaching. Everything is word of mouth or people who know me from the industry. So by the time somebody gets to me, they know that they have a keen interest in the field. And what I'm excited about helping people do is marry the business side with the creative side. And I'm a big believer that if your creative engine is full, you're excited about your voices, you're excited about your characters, you know, then you have the gasoline, as it were, to like send your demo everywhere and to try to learn new things and to go crazy. I think if you approach it business first, that just wouldn't work for me. So sometimes when people come to me and they'll talk to me about, you know, they've taken all the business stuff, you know, and they've got charts and things. And I say, well, what do you like to do? Oh, I don't know. I just would like to make money. Okay, that's not, it's not good enough. You know, you have to like to play characters. You have to like to be creative. So in that way.
I would hope so. I'd hope you'd want to do that if you're in voiceover.
No, you'd be surprised. Sometimes people think, oh, it's so easy. Like one of my favorite things that happens, it doesn't happen anymore, but one of the reasons I started teaching is two reasons. I had friends who would go to classes forever and they had no idea how to explain what they did. Like I would say, oh, you've been in that voiceover class for 2 years. Well, what kind of characters can you do? What type of commercials can you do? And they'd go, well, I don't really know, but if you give me some copy, I'll know what to do. And it just made me crazy. I'm like, oh my God, that's terrible. Or I would have people say, hey, Anna, can I just, you know, take you out for coffee and talk to you about voiceover stuff? Because I just want to get started. And I'm like, okay, it's a bigger conversation than a half an hour. It is, in fact, a global industry. So
it's going
to take more than half an hour
for a week.
It's going to take more than half an hour to talk about it. Or, well, I just want to know how to get started. Well, guess what? That's also going to take more than half an hour. So let me just you can pay me for that, and then we'll be focused, and then you'll be, I won't be resentful, and you'll be focused, and then we'll be able to move forward. So those two things combined. Plus, I just love it. I mean, it's really fun. And as a theater person, I'm very community based. So one thing I love about the voiceover community is it's so generous.
It really
People are
is.
very generous with their information and with their contacts and how they do things. And I think that's because there's so much work. I mean, if you're in musical comedy and there's, 5 ingenues being cast on Broadway and you don't get one of those 5 parts, you're done till next year, and it's hard to be involved in that and not have everything take on so much importance and not feel competitive with people. Whereas there's so much work and there's so many different areas in it that there really is room for a lot of people. So people can afford to be generous, I think, which is lovely.
Well, also, I think there might be something to the fact of not being on camera. It just makes a little more room for people to be nicer and less stressed out, I think.
Yeah. No, and also, again, there's a broader range of what you can do.
Yeah.
You do get
there's also the age thing. You don't age out real easily,
You do not. It's
like
me playing
like I know someone who played Digimon back in the day and is still playing the same character all these
they
years
still
later.
get to do it. Yes.
Yeah. I forgot her name, but whatever.
Oh, that's okay. It's all right.
Some chick.
Yeah. So yeah, you don't age out. And again, it's very interesting to me that you can always expand out. And I tell people too, you don't have to be good at everything. Don't get overwhelmed. You might be someone who loves doing books, reading books.
It's like the one thing I have zero interest in doing audiobooks.
It's not my thing. I don't want to sit in a room by myself. I realize you're not alone because you're with all the characters in your book, but that is not my thing. I have so much respect for people who do that. I really, really do. That's just not my particular thing. So if you love that, great. You don't have to do other things. And if you don't love that, guess what? There's a million other areas that you can work in.
Yeah. I mean, you can do medical, narration, you can do e-learning, you can do corporate narration, you can do animation, you can do games, you can do, shrimp cocktails, shrimp salad, shrimp, I think, it's all that.
You can do promos. Yeah, no, it's huge. You can do I love telling people, some of my students are so surprised when they realize, oh, wait, you can get paid for doing a phone prompt for a doctor's office. I'm like, yeah. For Dr. Green, press 2. For Dr. Blue, press 3. They're like, what? Go, yeah, you get $1,000. What? Oh my God. So there's a lot that you could do. There's a lot that you could do. Yeah.
I have yet to do a phone prompt. So
well, that's coming, I'm sure, because you have a very wonderful, warm voice. So warm, friendly voice. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I have a lovely, warm voice.
Talk this way now. Watch out, mister. Yeah.
Okay. So now I know you have this next question completely covered.
Uh-oh.
What sort of suggestions do you have for new voice actors?
Oh, you're hilarious.
I know.
Well, it's very simple, actually. So I'm just going to address 2 areas because the suggestion works for every single area of voiceover. So if it's commercials, I know it's going to sound radical. Watch real commercials and listen to them. It's funny when people come to me and they say, oh, I haven't watched I have Apple TV. I haven't watched a commercial in 5 years. I go, okay, so how do you know? Oh, oops. So how do you know what they are? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So watch commercials. Write down what they are, try to identify what they are, meaning giving a title to it, which I know you know, Ian. So for instance, if you're watching a Subaru ad, at the end of those Subaru ads, the guy or gal's always saying, love, it's what makes a Subaru a Subaru. So what is he doing, that person? And to me, they sound like the Save the Planet guy. Like, I'm a vegetarian and I buy Patagonia and I eat cashew cereal and I'm so chill and relieved. And so that kind of voice is very different than Ford truck. Hey, come get on my truck. That's I always call that the guy with the hat. So if you identify the different types of characters that you're going to see on commercials, then it's a way for you to start knowing what the market is. And for you to be able to say, not how do I fit in the market? People say that to me a lot. Like, I want to know where I fit in the market. And I say, well, can you sound like you're a reassuring doctor? Yeah. Oh, can you pretend to be someone's big brother, giving someone their first car keys? Yeah. Can you pretend you're a dad who does the laundry at home? Yeah. Okay. So those are 3 characters you can do. And the same thing holds true for animation. Watch the top 10 animated TV series. Watch the films that were, nominated for Oscars, because those are going to be the things that are referenced across the board. So if you're familiar with them, like years and years ago, I was up for, I auditioned for Powerpuff Girls, like, again, aging myself. And I never seen the show. I was like, well, I'm running around. I don't know. I didn't really watch animation. And I go in and I see like the little character, little round character, like zooming around really fast. And so I thought, oh, so I made my voice like crazy, like this sort of thing. And I didn't get that job, I watched it. Why didn't I get it? And I realized that their voices sounded a lot like my regular voice.
Uh-huh.
So I had auditioned myself right out of a job. Now, if I had been familiar with Powerpuff Girls, which at the time was the #1 animated show on TV, and paid attention to it, I would have known that and gone in and done a much better job. So pay attention to what the actual market is and actively write down what you're noticing. Just watching it passively in your head. Oh, I could do that. I could do that. It's not as good as writing it down. And then you start to see not only where you fit in the market, but you start to see the realities of the market. I work with a lot of women who worked a lot 10 years ago. And so they come in now, they've had kids or they've been away, and now they're coming back and everything is like really, really amped up. I said, okay, that was 10 years ago. Everything is very, very chill right now. Very chill. Even if you're doing that high energy person, you're just in a hammock talking about how good that Taco Bell is. Everything's very chill. They go, oh, I say, so you're auditioning like this style from 10 years ago, not what it is today. They go, oh, so pay attention to what's actually in the market. And you can do that for promos. You can do that for book narration. You can do that for virtually any area. And it's so great. You can teach yourself a lot of this stuff just at home, just sitting with your computer, which is amazing that you have that access to do.
Yeah. iSpot TV.
Yeah, iSpot TV is great. And of course, there's great classes all over you can take. And there's wonderful podcasts. There's so much you can do. But the main thing to me is to be really specific when you sit down with a notebook and a pen, like very old fashioned, or pencil, and write down. Very good. Literally write down. Oh, it's Cover Girl. It's a girl. She's the girl on the beach in a bikini. That's a very specific kind of voice versus Lancome woman. Oh, she's sitting at the end of the bar with the whiskey talking about. They're two very different people. So if you write it down, and it trains your ear to kind of hear the difference. So then when you're given those things, you know what to do,
Nice. Or girl in boots, as you like to say.
Oh my God, that's my favorite, girl in boots.
Do
Badass.
girl in boots.
Girl in boots. Just like, I'm not smiling. I'm telling you once. That's very good for like Urban Decay. It's like, where'd you get that great tattoo eyeliner from Urban Decay? Get it. Get out of my way. Get away. It's great for that. Great for certain kinds of badass cars, shampoo, OPI, nail polish. I love doing the girl with boots. That's just my favorite. Yeah.
Total transparency. I've been in classes with Anna for many months at this point. So yay. So I know to whom I'm speaking.
Yes, you do. You do have a lot of information on me.
I do.
Dangerous man.
Yes, I have all this information on you. Here's your file.
Oh my God. Wow.
Okay, you ready to do some dry reads?
Sure.
Okay, let's pull up the Lyft ad.
Okay. So now are you gonna give me any specs or just gonna have me guess?
No, I'm gonna do it like a real world thing with no specs.
Okay, great, fantastic. And do you want me to tell you like how I would pick my approach based on having no specs?
Yes, absolutely. Tell me your thought process. Tell me what.
All right. So here it is. Here's my thought process. It's Lyft, right? So Lyft, if you think of the brand, it's about being accessible. It's about being friendly. It's about like your neighbor, maybe the person who gives you a ride. Right. So it's not Lexus. It's nothing like that. It's not formal. It's going to be very neighborhoody feeling because that's the brand. Right. So I'm sure they want it friendly, which everybody always wants. So to do like a friendly read, it's such a cliche of like I'm talking to a friend about it. But what I like to do is add kind of the scenario that I'm in. So the first line of this is Lyft is a lot more than just a car ride. So rather than just say that like out of the blue, like, well, Lyft is a lot more than just a car ride. Okay, it's fine. But if I imagine that my friend's like, well, I'm really, I don't feel comfortable about taking Lyft. I mean, I feel weird and I don't know. I'm not even going to go anywhere. I'm just going to stay home. And I go, no. Lyft is a lot more than just a car ride. So you're really explaining it as a good thing. Like, no, you're not seeing it properly. This is going to be fun. It's practical, but it's fun. You're going to like meet great people. And by the way, it's not just cars. So I would imagine, because it says here that you can share rides, bikes, all these things. So I imagine that my friend likes to get around a lot of different ways. And she doesn't realize that Lyft has all these other things. So I'm informing her in a way that she's going to be happy to hear what I'm talking about. So that's how I look at it. And you start to break it down. Like when they say connect with the copy, like it says here, share rides, bikes, scooters, fancy cars, public transit, and more. So out of that big long list, a lot of people would say, okay, just pick one that you like best, which is a good way to do it because you don't want to read a list all the same way. But what I like to do to personalize it a little more is I like to imagine that my friend, I'm going to play with fancy cars. She loves to take a limo. This girl loves it, lives for the limo ride. So when I get to fancy cars, that's very specific to her, the person I'm talking to, or the guy. It's not just fancy cars. No, it's fancy cars that you like. So if you know why you're saying something specifically and you wait for that idea to land before you move on to the next thing, because you're always in a conversation is my thought. It's not just like a block of things I'm saying to somebody, to a room full of people. I'm talking to somebody and I want to see if what I'm saying is connecting with them as I'm talking. So that's kind of my thought process about it. So I hope that makes sense.
That does make sense.
Oh, thank God. Good. So who are you talking to specifically? And why are you talking to them? And the answer is always in the text. So another thing here in this text is it says they're all available with your Lyft app, right? So if they're all available, all these different things, just technically, all is one of those words that's in a lot of ads. And when you say the word all, if you elongate it just a teensy weensy bit, it just sounds better. And it takes in all the things you're talking about, as opposed to, and they're all available. They're all available. Just it's about like illuminating the copy a little bit more, because you're doing that so that your friend that you're talking to really is getting happy and like, oh my God, she's solving my problem. Oh, this is great. Oh, fantastic. I know exactly what I'm going to do now. So that's my whole process. Awesome. So that said, watch, I have to read it now. What if I just am terrible? What if I read it's like, wow,
you're gonna have to give up all your students.
Awful.
Yeah.
What?
You're gonna have to give up all your students.
I have to give them all. They're like, okay.
The stakes are really, really high.
Emperor has no clothes. Okay, wait, let me see if I can see better with my glasses on. Yes, I can. All right, so that's gonna happen. All right. So tell me when you want me to go.
Go.
All right, here we go. So I can say, Ian, you got this all wrong. Lyft is a lot more than just a car ride. Yeah, you heard me right. Shared rides, bikes, scooters, fancy cars, public transit, and more. And they're all available with your Lyft app. We're always happy to pick you up, but we can help you get there more ways than you thought. Download the Lyft app today and get going. So there you are.
All right.
There's probably a little push. I might have to do it a little more relaxed, but that would be my first read.
Do you want to do another one?
Sure. I'll do one that's if they say throw it away more.
Throw it away more.
Okay, I'll do that. Throw it away more.
Throw it away, like you're talking to a friend.
All right, I'll do it again. I'll throw it away more. Okay, here we go. No, Lyft is a lot more than just a car ride. Yeah, you heard me right. Shared rides, bikes, scooters, fancy cars, public transit, and more. And they're all available with your Lyft app. We're always happy to pick you up, but we can help you get there in a lot more ways than you thought. Download the Lyft app today and get going.
Nice.
Quieter.
Now do it as your Digimon character.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. Okay, let me see. It's very high. Okay, so here it goes. Lyft is more than just a car ride. Yeah, you heard me right. Shared rides, bikes, scooters, fancy cars, public transit, and more. And they're all available with your Lyft app. We're always happy to pick you up, but we can help you get there more ways than you thought. Download the Lyft app today and get going. Wow.
And some Lyft even have snacks.
That's insane. That's insane. Some Lyfts even have snacks. That's a little crazy.
Nice. Okay. So audition suggestions for newbies.
What do you mean by audition? Like how to approach an audition, do you mean? Or where to find auditions?
Yeah, how to approach auditions.
Yeah, well, I think kind of what I was just talking about. When you get a piece of copy, I always think it's really good to say to yourself, what is the conversation I could be in that I would say that first line? So you can give yourself a little lead in. Like just now with the Lyft is a lot more than just a car ride, and I said, no, Ian, you don't understand. Lyft is a lot more than just a car ride, right? So I give myself a sentence that gets me in the right tone of voice and the right attitude for the ad. So I think that's a good thing to do. Also look and see, are there lists of words, you know, because you don't want to give the same value to everything. You don't want to say shared rides, bike, let's see, this would be the bad version. Shared rides, bikes, scooters, fancy cars, public transit, and more. But I don't even hear what I said, because they're all different things. So if there's a list of things, you know, make sure that they're all a little bit different. Pick one that's your favorite. Try to match the tone of voice to the brand. And it's pretty easy to tell, like Lyft is obviously very friendly and you're talking about giving people rides. But if it's something like this, wouldn't be, you know, like a seductive Lexus, you know, Lyft is a lot more than just a car ride. Okay, it turns into something totally different. Like, oh God, that's not right. So pay attention to that. So make sure your tone of voice and your character matches the brand, right?
Right.
So that's very important. So like, you know, what is the type of character that you're talking about, right? Like a Mini Cooper is going to be very bouncy versus a Lexus is going to be very quiet and seductive. So that's the first thing. And then I always say, like, what would you do with that first sentence? And it's also good sometimes for people are different, but to think about where you are. Like, are you in the kitchen talking to your girlfriend, or are you a CEO in a suit talking to another CEO? Because your voice is going to change. And this is where I put it back to the regular acting thing. Like, say you're up for an episode of Law and Order and you're playing an attorney, and they say it's a real authentic attorney. Okay, well, are you the $1,000 an hour attorney who's the partner of the company, who's wearing great clothes and has a big assistant and talks in a very, you know, quiet, sort of authoritative way? Or are you the attorney who's the social worker who like has a rumply suit and is carrying a bunch of things and is always late for everything, right? The characters are going to walk differently. They're going to dress differently. They're going to sound different. So that's what I mean by matching your character. You know, there's a lot of different kinds of friendly people, you know, so friendly is too generic to me. You know, why are you being friendly? And again, who literally you're talking to. And it doesn't have to be like, I had a student once said to me, well, I don't know if I should be talking to my sister, you know, Gwen, or to my girlfriend, Betty. And I said, okay, it doesn't have to be a real person, because that could just drive you crazy. Not a real person. Just if you're talking to a little sister who's afraid that she has a prom coming up and she has a big pimple, you can imagine being reassuring to a younger person saying, oh, don't worry about that pimple. You are going to be ready for prom because look, I've got Clearasil. I don't have to think, oh, I don't really have a real sister. Who could it be? No, don't make yourself crazy that way. Just put yourself in an imaginary circumstance, which is what all act is. So I hope that answers your question.
Advice to actors: don't make yourself crazy.
Don't make yourself crazy. That is exactly. And do your homework a little bit. Yeah. You know, this idea, I think it's a mistake where we hear all the time, well, just wing it. You know, this is something I do want to say that I talk about a lot in class. We're told a lot of times by people who don't understand actors to don't act, don't do anything, just throw it away, just talk. You know, particularly those ads that are very, very quiet and kind of monotone and very simple, like a lot of car ads are like that. It never means don't have a strong attitude. And your attitude is either, I know you want this car, or I've earned this car, or this is the greatest car ever. They're three slightly different tones of voice because you've got three slightly different attitudes on them. So when people say throw it away, don't do anything, it never means don't have a strong point of view about what you're talking about. You know, be clear on what your relationship is to, it's an acting thing, people, places, objects, and events. You know, that's very important. And poor things just don't know how to talk to actors. When they say throw it away, what they mean is, you know, don't be too loud. Don't say, well, this new car is great. Like, don't do that. Just say, this new car is great. They usually mean just be a little more subtle. And remember too, that you're talking in such a silly thing, but it's a good advice for a lot of new actors actually, is the microphone is literally the person you're talking to. So it's fun sometimes if you've, you know, got someone close to you that you can say, do me a favor, I want you to stand where this mic is just for a minute so I can just talk to you. And believe me, very quickly, you'll be like, oh, I only am talking this loud. I'm not talking like this to get my point across, right? So it's such a cliche thing, but it's a great exercise. Just literally have someone stand right in front of you and talk to them and see how loud you talk. And you go, oh, been yelling. Well, don't do
well, for me, you're talking like this.
Yeah, for me, you're talking like this. Well, I'm talking through the glass, through the Zoom. I talk too loud. This is terrible.
Yeah, it's maybe a New York thing. I don't know. I'm like that too. My wife is like that. She's from Boston, as you know.
Yeah.
So she's always like, we both have to like tone it down quite a bit.
Well, I think actors in general are very enthusiastic people, right? So how fantastic. It's great to have a lot of enthusiasm. It's great. Sometimes people say, oh, I'm so nervous. And I think it's good to be nervous because it means you're doing something that's important to you, you know? So you go, oh, that nerves, I can turn into like a kind of a focused energy that can actually be
Mm-hmm.
very kind of organizing. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
you know, so I'm trying to think if there's anything else off the top of my head that I could say. Oh, the other thing that I would say, and I say this to everybody at the beginning of class, one of the things that you get asked about all the time is to be conversational, and that means different things to different people.
Right.
So I speak very quickly, obviously. So for me to be conversational, I have to really slow down to where I feel like I'm almost dead. I'm talking so slowly, but that's what they mean by conversational. Other times people speak too quickly, too slowly. Some are too loud, some are too quiet. And you have to just figure out by listening to actual commercials, what is the actual pace of the commercials that are on the air right now? Because you have to match what they're looking for. So I may have mentioned this in class. I have a good friend, Carl, whose natural speaking voice and cadence is he's got a very low voice and he speaks very methodically in real life. Yes, Anna, I will meet you at Joe Allen's at 5 o'clock. We will have cocktails. It will be fun. Like that's how he naturally talks. So when they give him conversational, he tries to talk the way he talks in a conversation, to which I said, that is so wrong. It's perfect if you're doing like a real quiet, sexy, Kentucky straight bourbon. Great, perfect for that. But when they say conversational, Carl, you've got to like talk higher, move your voice up a little bit and a lot faster. And he went, oh, so it kind of goes back to what I was saying, like really pay attention to what the market is, so you understand the vernacular of it and the language of it.
I'm going to go watch like 15 hours of iSpot TV now.
Oh my God, don't do that. I also tell people, don't watch too much of it because your head will explode and you'll hate it. You'll say, oh my God, I can't spend my time in this. No, just watch like 10 minutes one day and then don't think about it for 2 days and then watch 10 minutes later, but don't overdose on it. That's not a good idea. No. That's a bad advice, Ian, not 15 hours, a little bit at a time.
Mama's drinking and watching iSpot TV.
Watching the TV, yeah. No, a little bit goes a long way. And that's one thing I would like to say too is, it doesn't take, if you're consistent, if you spend an hour and a half once a week for 4 weeks, really watching the area you're interested in a specific way, either watching commercials or watching animation, and then you spend an hour and a half a week practicing that, trying to kind of replicate what you saw and kind of hear when you're doing it right, when you're not. If you do that in a month, you have you have a good head start on everything in a month. So just 3 hours a week, you can really get started. Even auditioning, I've got a student, very, very successful student. When she first started auditioning, she only had 3 hours on Wednesday afternoon. That was it. Because she worked another job and she didn't have any time. So she just went those 3 hours. And what happened was she started to book jobs and then she started to get repeat work. And then she could take more time off of her other job. And then she could do Wednesday afternoons and Thursday all day. And then and she's been doing, nonstop voiceover work now. That's been her only gig for like 5 years now. Nice. So don't feel like, oh my God, I don't have 80 hours a week to do it. You have to be consistent. And I think it's the only area of acting where you can get a good head start on things relatively quickly. I mean, to be good at everything, obviously it takes more time and everything like that. But it doesn't have to be, you don't have to think, oh, I have to set aside 2 months, 8 hours a day. No, you don't really, which is great, actually.
Yeah.
That's what I say.
Great. So sit or stand?
Oh, I'm very big on standing.
Yeah.
You know why? Because if you're in your body, you're gonna do a lot better. One of the great tricks for people who have a hard time sounding like they're in a conversation, because sometimes we'll read things, and I'll give you an example on the copy here. So this is what I call the English as a second language read. Lyft is a lot more than just a car. Yeah, you heard me right. Shared rides, bikes, scooters, fancy cars, public transit, and more. Like what? Oh my God, what are you doing? If you just move your hand around while you're talking, Lyft is a lot more than just a car ride. Like because your brain is doing something else, you're going to come out in a normal way of speaking, right? So I'm very big on being able to move around, or even if you're sitting, try to have enough room if you can. And I know not everyone has this possibility, but to be able to move your hands, I've got a student who, when she does sexy stuff, and this, Ian, from being in class, she goes like this. And I said, like, what are you doing? She goes, well, I'm pretending that I'm stroking velvet. As I talk about the all new Fiat, right? Which is great. And then if I'm doing what I call the floating head voice, which is kind of like sort of like a sexy robot. I have to do this with my hand to do the same. So it'll be like, oil volet is the science of wrinkles. we have all these patents and all these things, and I'm just a floating head of light. And I just have to do this to keep my voice the same all the way through. Versus like, come on over. Oh, come on over. Come on over and try this new car with me. It's so fun. We're going to go for a ride in my new Mini Cooper. Come on. So I'm very big on being able to move around, but I think standing is better, particularly for animation.
Yeah. I
If you
use
have
my
to sit,
hands all the
that's okay.
time. And I use all these tricks like if I stutter or if I get stuck on something, I'm always doing this with
Oh
the
yeah,
hands.
that's a great trick.
Just talking like this so that I don't have to just, so that I don't get stuck on a
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so many commercials have these big tongue twisters in them because I
Oh my
think it's
God.
important to acknowledge that commercials are not written in any kind of a normal American English way of writing. So once you own that, you go, oh, okay. So I have to make sense of these weird run-on sentences and things that don't make sense. So when I do get copy, this is something I do that I forgot. The first thing I look at is, do I need to put in punctuation different places to make what I'm saying actually make sense? The worst is when you get a big, long name of a product, like the all-new BMW 642 X52 indoor-outdoor hybrid car. What? Like, oh my God, it's just like a big, and our temptation is to just like power through it, right?
I had a read
As
like that
opposed
the
to
other day.
stopping and
Yeah.
going the all new 642R, blah, 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 like break it up a little bit. So putting your own punctuation, I think, is very important because this stuff is not written in any normal way. I think I told you I have a student who was a ABC on-air news announcer, like a brilliant woman, like beautiful voice, and she cannot get past the copy. It drives her crazy. She's like, this is terrible. This would never make it on air. I go, okay, it's not a report on Iran. It's a Reynolds wrap. It's very different. So.
Yeah. No, I had a read like that the other day where it was, I don't remember what it was, but it was some super long, alliterative, internally rhyming with a lot of P's and G's and R's. And so it was just like, and I just could not get it. I must have read that like 15 times in order to get it straight.
Yeah.
On the audition.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, when you come up against those things, just slow down. That's the key. If something's really messing you up, rather than try to power through it, slow down and make it your favorite part of the copy. Like that's a good trick. Like, oh God, this word's getting me all messed up. Like, no. That's your favorite word. So you're going to slow down on it and really enjoy it. And that will help you get through it.
Nice. All right. Well, let's hit self-promotion time again.
Oh my God. Well, you're very kind. Thank you, Ian. First off, I'm super flattered to be part of your awesome podcast series. I have to tell you. I mean, my gosh, what do you have, like 20 people you've interviewed already?
I think so, right? Yeah.
Amazing.
Like that.
Well, I recommend everybody watch all of them.
Yeah.
And I think it's really fun that you have us all read the same bit of copy. I think that's fantastic that you have everybody do that. That's very wonderful. So self-promotion time. Yeah. If you are looking for coaching or, whatever, I do consulting. I do audition. Like if you have an audition that's coming up that you want help on, I do a lot of animation audition help actually with people, which is really fun. All my information is on my website, which is Anna, ANNA. Oh, wait, no, wait, that's my email. Sorry. My website is, I'm about to give out let me give out my home phone number too and my address. No, so my website is voiceforward.com. Like take your voice forward is the whole idea. So check out my website and there's ways to reach me on there and there's a lot of information and always feel free to reach out. I'm very happy to answer questions and, connect with people any way that is easy for them.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Anna.
Thank you, Ian. Have a good day.
Nice talking to you.
Been very nice talking to you, and I will see you in class, I'm hoping.
Yes. Okay.
All right. I'll talk to you very soon. Hi to Deb.
I will.
Okay.
All right.
Bye. Thank you. See you later.
You've been listening to Voiceover. How did you do it? At www.voiceoverpodcast.com with me, Ian Kleinfeld. You can watch the video to all our podcasts at voiceoverpodcast.com/YouTube. The background track is 1959 by my alter ego Max Rocket, and you can find that and other songs at www.maxrocketmusic.com. Remember to like, subscribe, write a review, and all that good stuff on whatever podcast streaming service you're listening to, and I'll see you next week. Thanks for listening.